welcome to Missed Checkpoints, the Video Game Book Club podcast. Today we're doing a bonus episode. I'm your host Marcus, and joining me today, as always, is the homie Trevor.
What's going on?
And we also have the homie Dante, back from a long absence. What was the last episode you were on?
It was another bonus game, wasn't it?
Oh, was it Shadows?
The Colossus?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Shadow of the Colossus.
We've had multiple Shadows games.
Oh, that's true. So, this game is my choice. It's, I don't even know, is it Luftrausers or Luftrausers? I don't even know how to say it. I'm going to say Luftrausers. That's what I'm going to say for this episode. But it was my choice, so I will introduce it. Luftrausers is a shoot-'em-up video game developed by Netherlands-based indie dev studio Vlambeer and published by Austin-based publisher Devolver Digital. And so if you've listened to a previous episode, you might recognize Devolver Digital because they published the Hotline Miami, which was a game we played way back when. They published over 100 titles in their 11-year existence, including the majority of the Serious Sam series, as well as other games like Minute, Downwell, Enter the Gungeon, Exit the Gungeon, Ape Out, My Friend Pedro, the Lockdown Phenomenon, Fall Guys, and our actual upcoming December guest game, Katana Zero, as well. But that's enough about Devolver. Let's get into Vlambeer. Like I said, it's a Dutch-based indie developer. It was founded in 2010 by Rami Ismail and Jan Willem Nijm. And they basically formed the studio after dropping out of Utrecht School of Arts game design. According to the story, they were developing a game outside of school, and when the school discovered this, they demanded the rights of the game, which the pair refused, which ultimately led to their decision to drop out of school. Their first game was called Super Crate Box, and it was released in May of 2010 and was a finalist in the Independent Games Festival in the Excellence in Design category. They followed that game up with Radical Fishing, which was released later that year, and then they were soon approached by Devolver Digital to develop a game in the Serious Sam franchise, and they ended up churning out Serious Sam: The Random Encounter, which is a turn-based role-playing game that they released in October 2011. During the development of that game, they released many small games, most notably a free flash game called Luftrausers, which was inspired by Plane Trip Home from the 2012 Game Developers Conference, or GDC, in San Francisco. And I actually sent the guys in here a link to, because you can still play Luftrausers online at onemorelevel.com/game/Luftrausers. Afterwards, they began working on an iOS version of Radical Fishing called Ridiculous Fishing. Development halted after a San Francisco-based studio released a clone of Radical Fishing on iOS. This generated discussion about cloning of video games that led Vlambeer to become somewhat of an icon on the topic. They eventually released Ridiculous Fishing, and it was nominated in the 2012 Independent Games Festival in the Best Mobile Game category, and went on to become the best reviewed iOS game of 2013, receiving perfect scores. Fast forward, I guess, to December 2012, and they announced the sequel to Luftrausers called Luftrausers, which was set to release in Q2 of 2013. In the weeks before the release, a Bangalore-based dev released a similar airplane dogfight game called Skyfair, and Vlambeer had to contact Apple and Google to intervene to avoid another clone war. More mishaps continued when Rami Ismail's backpack containing everything Vlambeer, including electronics and game code, was stolen during the E3 2013. And the game was ultimately released in March 2014 for Windows, OS X, Linux, PS3, and PlayStation Vita. The game itself, Luftrausers, is an airplane-based shoot-'em-up, but unlike traditional shoot-'em-ups where the direction of the craft is fixed, Luftrausers allows 360 degrees of motion, so it's more akin to a multi-directional shooter like Smash TV or Robotron or the Geometry Wars series. However, one difference is that the player's main weapon can only be fired from the front, forcing the player to take into account the position and angle of the airplane. They must also account for the momentum the plane is flying, using gravity and the drift to maneuver as much as forward propulsion takes them. And you add that into the fact that the plane's health only regenerates when it's not firing, and it becomes a super dangerous acrobatic routine of dodging bullets to regain health while trying to reposition your plane to immediately return fire once the opportunity presents itself. Luftrausers had a 2.5-year development cycle and was profitable within 3 days of its release. The game received generally favorable reviews, even being rewarded by one of our podcasts that the three of us listen to, Giant Bomb's Game of the Year award for Best Music of 2014.
What?
Yes. Yes. Vlambeer went on to develop Nuclear Throne in 2015, and on September 1st of this year, 2020, the day of the studio's 10th anniversary, they announced they were closing down. Nijum and Ishmael made the decision a few weeks prior to the announcement and recognized that they had been moving in separate directions within the video game industry since 2016 and no longer felt they needed to work together anymore, nor was there a need for the Vlambeer name in the indie game world. And that is my introduction.
Dang, that was just 2 months ago.
Yes. So the reason I chose this game was because I wanted to pick something that was kind of like, I like to play things that are a little bit relevant. Like we kind of had decided that we don't really want to play games that come out that same year, so we don't try to play new games. But I like to play things that are still related to stuff that is happening in the video game industry. So this seemed relevant when I suggested it initially, and then on top of that too, I think this was the very first game I bought on Steam. When I created my Steam account, I think in 2013, I think is when I created my Steam account, and this
You didn't make that thing till after college?
Yeah, because I didn't have a PC. I didn't. All the games that I got on my Mac were games I either got from Humble Bundle or something else, so I didn't ever have a Steam account. And but this was the very first game I got on Steam. And it's been in my back catalog since then. I never played it. Like, I only got it off the recommendation of Giant Bomb, but I had never played it. So this was like an opportunity for me to play this game that I had known about and been meaning to play for so long, and it just seemed timely for me. What were you about to say, Trevor? I felt like you were about to say something.
Well, I'm trying to remember if I even had to buy this game, because I feel like I did. Because even after having 600 plus games in my Steam library, I think I still had to buy this.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because I waited till it went on sale.
I mean, like, they're not, like, I think when I had looked up Vlambeer, it only maybe developed about 4 or 5 games total. And, like, they did do a lot of, I think a lot of it was mobile stuff. So, I mean, you weren't going to get mobile games on Steam, you know, so. So, I'm guessing all of us played this on PC via Steam?
Yep.
Dante, when did you first hear about this game? Because I know me and you had talked about this game at many times throughout the talking about potential episodes for, you know, this podcast. And I know we had thrown this out maybe once or twice.
Yeah, I remember, I guess this is some, what do they call it? How they make the patty or whatever you want to behind the scenes
how the
stuff.
sausage is made.
How the sausage is made. That's the analogy I was looking for. But after I had left, we were like, okay, here's a list of games that I'm interested in. Here's a list of games that you're interested in. Let's find one that we can mutually agree on. And I think you put it in the list. And I think I might have been inclined to do Luftrausers, but I think there was another game we chose over it, and I can't remember exactly what that game was.
Yeah,
but
I think it was that In the Gardens Between, because we wanted to get Trevor in on episode 2, I think.
That's right. But I mean, I think I heard about it the same way you did by Giant Bomb, and I think Alex Navarro in specific was very big into it.
He was. He's actually the person that wrote the review on their website, because remember when they used to have reviews?
Yeah, I mean,
he gave it 4 out of 5 stars.
I'm kind of surprised he didn't give it 5. Like, not that I think it's a 5 out of 5 star game, but from what I remember,
they were big on it.
Hyping it up quite a bit.
Yeah, they were big on it.
So yeah, that's my history Also, I had heard the name Flambeer a lot in their podcast, and I don't know if Flambeer has been on the E3 couch or whatever.
I think at least Rami Ishmael probably has been, because he's a name that I recognize. Even sometimes when we do these and I look at like a developer, I'm like, oh, this person started it. I've heard that name many times, and it's their relationship with Giant Bomb.
Right, but that's pretty much my history with the game.
And what about you, Trevor? Do you have any history with the game, or is this all completely new?
I want to say I heard Giant Bomb talk about the game at some point. I don't remember what their opinion on it was, but yeah, I didn't look into it until after you mentioned playing it for the podcast.
Well, I mean, best music of 2014.
Oh, y'all didn't turn this game on mute?
Oh, you turned it on mute?
Man, so I'll talk about it once we get into that.
I mean, we can talk about the music.
Okay, so
I mean, that's a good opportunity too.
I played this game in maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 sessions, like 20 to 30 minute sessions, and I thought this was going to be more of a game that was more zen. Like, okay, let me start playing this game. Let me put on music I like. Turn up the
let me set my mood.
Turn on the lo-fi hip hop live
no
stream
game's gonna let
YouTube.
me tell how to feel.
and mute the music in the game, the in-game music. But yeah, it didn't really it didn't work out that way.
Oh,
but
no.
I didn't turn the music back on, so
okay.
And then he didn't turn the game back on.
I feel like, you know what? I feel like I was playing better with the music turned off, though.
Okay.
But I honestly don't remember any of the music from this game, just because I remember not really caring for the music at first, and I was just like, well, there wasn't really any audio dialogue, so let me not worry about that, and let me listen to music I want to listen to while I just play this game, because I mean it's basically just runs that you're doing. It's not a continuous thing. So
what about you, Dante? What do you think of the music?
I'm not too far off of Trevor's opinion. Like, the one thing I remember is the menu music.
Mm-hmm. It sounded very like I always feel like when I hear that music in games, it's like super like this is a dictator propaganda military like kind of
like Papers, Please.
Yes. Where it's like we're Mother Russia, and like I always get that vibe when I hear this type of music. It sounds very like military.
I guess the other thing I'll say is, I guess I'm kind of over, like, it's not 8-bit music. It's somewhere between 8 and 16-bit style.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I just feel like I've heard enough of that in my lifetime, and not to say that that still can't be good, but this one didn't do anything special for me.
Mm-hmm.
So when you said best music and that
it was shocking.
It was shocking. I wasn't ready for you to say that. Like, you could have said anything else about this game.
Best graphics. Best story.
It's fair. Okay. There's a lot of shocking things that best in this game in the same sense would surprise me. But that one in specific at the moment got me.
Best style.
It has a style. I will give it that.
So for me, I'm kind of with you guys. Like, I think one of the things that you talked about, Dante, is like kind of being over that 8-bit / 16-bit kind of music. I think this was like coming out right when that was like cresting, and like still, like it wasn't like tired and played out yet.
Right. Not everybody and their grandmother was making another like Super Nintendo nostalgia trip.
Yeah, and then I think the other thing, and I think this is maybe, if I remember this correctly, I think the music changed depending on the loadout of your ship.
Huh.
So I think that it would bring in different sound effects and like instrumentation depending on like if you're using a machine gun versus using using these three loadouts, you would get one thing. If you switch the gun, two of the things would be the same, but this thing would be different. And I think that's kind of what they were alluding to, because the music always sounds the same when you start it up, but then once the music starts going, that's when it starts changing.
I mean,
I think it's probably novel. It's not. It was probably novel in 2014.
But the more I think about this, the more ludicrous it becomes, because I'm like, how can you give a game best music when there's only like maybe 5 minutes of music you ever get experience?
Hey, it created a vibe, I guess you could say.
All right.
Yeah. So, but like I'm kind of with you guys. Like, it's not super memorable. Like, I tried to listen to the music outside of the game, and it didn't really do anything for me. And then the music ends so abruptly when you die too, that it's not like you can kind of vibe out and like when the run is over, the music stops, and then when you start the run back, the music keeps going. And if I remember correctly, I think in other games, like the game I can think of, that a run-based game like Super Meat Boy, the music just keeps playing every time you die, and so it's less jarring, I feel like, and like you get to hear more of the music in a Super Meat Boy than you do in this game.
Yeah, I think with this type of game, you are playing it in runs, but every time you die, you have a chance to stop and change out your loadout.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think you're out of that game long enough for the music to have to stop like that.
I don't know about that. The menu controls are so bad.
Yeah.
Like, man, I just wanted to get back to the thing, and I'm like, oh my god. For whatever reason, this button does this here, but then this does this here, and then I can't really tell where I am.
Yeah.
I might be showing too much of my hand. I'm going to shut up for a second.
I started thinking about it. I was like, he is right, though. So, yeah. I guess, do we have anything else music-wise we want to talk about?
I think this is the first time we ever talked about music this early on.
I know, right? It's like we didn't even talk about the gameplay yet. I guess like it's time to talk about the gameplay. So kind of like what I said in the intro, the game is very, very simple as far as what the controls are. You hit up on the D-pad to go, or excuse me, not the D-pad. Did you guys all play keyboard and mouse, or did you guys play or keyboard?
Is that even possible?
Not mouse, but did you guys? I played it with the keyboard.
What?
Yeah, I played keyboard and mouse. You play with a gamepad?
How are you gonna do? Like, that's an analog stick type of game, 100%. I can't even fathom.
No wonder you were so good.
What are you guys doing?
I preferred playing it with a mouse and keyboard, or just keyboard, because I don't know.
That's like playing Geometry Wars with a.
It's not though.
I wasn't changing directions as quickly as I would have if I played with a gamepad.
Like I don't view this game as a dual joystick shooter. So like Geometry Wars, like you can shoot from any side of the ship. In this game, you can only shoot from the front. So like for me, the only thing that I like when I booted this game up the first time, I had my controller plugged in, and I booted it up, and I tried to play it like a Geometry Wars, and I died like immediately, and I kept dying, and I was like, this is not it. This doesn't feel right. So then when I went over to play it on keyboard, and it felt like more. Obviously, I didn't have the control that I am used to in a dual joystick shooter, but like it made more sense to me what I was trying to do. If that makes any sense.
I preferred playing it on the keyboard. Another reason is because it allows me to commit more to the direction I want to go. Whereas if I was playing on a joystick, I could see myself like second guessing, okay, I'm going to turn this way. No, I got to dodge, so let me move this way.
It gives you too many options.
Yeah, and I just start spinning in circles.
It's too good.
Whereas with a keyboard, once I commit to that direction, I can kind of adjust or whatever I need to, rather than having to second guess myself.
All right, so I went to the Steam page when I googled Luftrausers controller versus keyboard, and it seems to be kind of a 50-50.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it just feels like I'm giving up so much when I played it on a controller from what I'm used to. The amount of control that I'm used to having when I play a game that this game is supposed to be like, if that makes any sense.
I can't fathom what you're like, because
I feel
the
like
ship is moving in a 360-degree pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So just having that circular stick to actually like navigate and stuff, like,
Well,
it's definitely not a twin stick, but at the same time getting like that smooth, like, oh, I need to shift my ship upwards and have it dive.
I was kind of looking at it like Asteroids too, where you're not necessarily using the directional joystick to move. You're using up to thrust, and then you're using left and right to turn.
I have no clue what that even means. Like, I can't even fathom. Granted, I never tried the game on keyboard, but at the same time, you guys talk. I'm gonna mute myself for a split second.
I actually have a question for you, gameplay wise.
All right, go ahead.
So, what is it like playing it on controller? Like the left joystick is the stick that you use to boost and move?
Yeah, like, I don't know. I never even thought of it as boost. I just thought of it as like
Accelerate?
accelerate, essentially. Like, I'm tilting my ship in a direction and it will go in whichever direction I need to go in.
Do you use... And so you don't use the right thumbstick at all, right? That doesn't do anything for you.
Not that I remember. Like,
And
it's
then you
been
use
a
like
couple
X
days.
or a trigger in order to shoot?
I'd like to say it might be like right trigger.
And so, like, for me, the issue that I have when I was trying to do that is, like, automatically, I would want the right thumbstick to make me turn. And that was the issue that I was having. Where it's like...
Why would you want it to...
I would want to be able to... Because that's how it is in, like...
That's not how it is in Geometry Wars, though.
It is. In Geometry Wars, the way you tilt...
That's how you shoot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The way you tilt the right thumbstick is the direction your bullets are facing. And for me, like, I didn't feel like I would have the fidelity that I would need with the left thumbstick being in control of all of that that I do in Geometry Wars, which is like, I don't know. I didn't feel like the shit in this game was as responsive as I wanted it to be. So
I'm not arguing with you there.
So I just never felt like I was fully in control in the way that felt comfortable for me playing it on.
I guess what I'll say is that I, like, 5 seconds into this game, my hot take was, oh, this game is intentionally designed to kind of make you hate the controls.
I don't think that's wrong. But I think that it's in service of the gameplay mechanic that they have, where you're not supposed to, like, in order to heal, you need to not shoot. And in order to, like, I think that that's in service of that. So I do think that the controls are purposely not as tight as they could be in order to the conceit of the gameplay mechanic that they have. Do you agree with that? Or I think, like, because basically what we're trying to say, or, you know, what I'm saying is that the control of the aircraft in this game isn't as tight as you would want it to be. It's and I think it's purposely done that way because I think it makes it harder, and it adds that stress of I'm getting hit by bullets. If I return fire, I'm not going to be able to heal. And then on top of that, too, it forces you to try to position your ship in a way that I think is more like tries to give you the suspense of you being in a dogfight. Because if you could literally just turn around and just and take out the...
Live test going on here. What button is shoot?
X.
Yeah.
Space?
The X button, but I switched it over. I switched it over to space.
Okay, yo, this is easy mode. What? How did it take you guys an hour like this? What are you? What? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
It's 4 buttons.
It's 4 buttons. It is.
Wow. You guys are bad at this game.
Yes.
What's going on here?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
I will say that. What weapon are you using? The laser.
Beam.
Okay, that's why you think we're bad at this game, because the laser is OP.
Yeah.
The laser is like, if you use the cannon or use the what's the other weapon? The machine gun. Those weapons are hard AF on keyboard. The laser is easy on keyboard. Spread is easy on keyboard.
Yeah, I was about to say spread is what I was using.
I was wrecking shop when I unlocked the laser on keyboard. I was like, oh, this is, and like that's why I had to like wean myself off of it, because I was like, oh, I'm feeling like I'm doing this is too easy now. I need to like not necessarily give myself a challenge, but I need to like make progress on the other stuff. But let's get into that too. So going back though, Dante, like control wise, do you think that that's the reason why, is to kind of heighten the tension, make the gameplay more interesting?
I think it's the gimmick of this game. Like, not to say that every game has to control well, but I think they went so far in the direction of making you not want to control this game that it kind of becomes annoying, at least for me personally.
I gotcha. Do you feel that way, Trevor?
Well, I was going to say, like with a joystick, you can move incrementally. Like with a joystick, you're not necessarily moving either 0 or 100 like you are with a keyboard. You know, you can move like half the speed with a joystick, if that makes any sense. But this game doesn't allow for half speeds. It's either 0 or 100.
All or nothing.
Yeah. So I think that's why it lends itself better to the keyboard than a joystick.
I agree with that.
You know what? I think there's an argument for both.
Yeah, which is probably why you saw it was 50-50. People may just be more comfortable using a joystick.
Let's get into the gameplay actually now. So, kind of like what I was saying is that you are basically in a dogfight. The game starts, and even the tutorial, you see your ship take off from like a battleship, and then the music starts playing, and you're immediately getting attacked by other airplanes. And as it progresses, or as you progress, you start getting attacked by boats, battleships, submarines. There's some ace pilots. It's just all different types of enemies, and you're just dodging bullets. And I think that the way that they display your health, there's not a health bar, but as you're taking damage, the screen starts to darken, and there's only there's a circle around your ship, and it gets smaller and smaller till you like die. So the way to heal is to not shoot, and
you're talking about the ship smoking, right?
Well, even when you just have the circle around you too.
Oh, I never even noticed that.
Really?
Now that you mentioned it.
It's actually pretty cool. I've never seen like an HP indicator done like that.
It reminds me of like shooters, like where your screen would get bloody sometimes.
Yeah, I wish it was more noticeable though, because I don't know. Sometimes when there's like a lot of enemies around you, you don't notice it. But yeah, because of the color scheme that the game uses, it's not as noticeable. But I do think it's pretty cool.
And you're basically on a not never ending, but it's basically like a horizontal playing field, almost like Pac-Man, where if you run off one side of the screen, you're going to show up on the other side. But it's pretty lengthy. It's pretty wide. And there's not a map, right?
No.
but it's like I feel like there is like if you see this boat here, if you just fly enough to the right or left, you're gonna see that boat again, and you're gonna know where you're at. And then above you and below you, so below you is a body of water that you start to take damage if you go into that danger zone, and above you is like a bunch of clouds.
Exo-atmosphere.
And if you get too high up, you start taking damage either. So like they do a good job of kind of box you in. And I never felt like it was like, oh, I wish this map was larger. Like you had more than ample amount of space in order to maneuver. And you're just literally just dodging bullets. And like I from what I could tell, bullets never like stopped. Like they never like faded out. Like, bullets would just go until they got off screen, right?
Well, yours don't, but enemies do.
Oh, okay. So there was, like, a height restriction on some of the enemy bullets?
Yeah, because I followed some of the enemy bullets, at least from the ships. I followed them. The ones that don't fly as fast.
And, yeah, so, like, you're dodging all... And, like, the bullets, they... For the most part, I think most enemy bullets are the same, but they're shot at different rates of fire and different speeds. So, like, when you are flying low, but not so you can see the body of water, you could tell if, like, you're above a battleship, because a battleship would just unload a spray of bullets in your direction, and they normally did it in, like, a cone of 2 bunches of bullets. And so, like, fighting them, it was, like, better to be either in the center of that cone, so you like the bullets are on either side of you, or outside of that cone where you don't have to worry about it. And then there was, like, other enemies that, like, literally, like, I felt like they purposely, it was the ace pilots and the fighter jets, and then they would get in front of you and shoot bullets at you. And so, like, they had a weird flying pattern, so they were never following you. They were always trying to get up in your business, almost like a gnat.
So, it's funny because the ace pilots pretty much play the game as you would play it. Like, they drift around you to try to, get in front of you, and then they start shooting at you. Which is kind of the way, you would play it if you were looking at a more slow-moving target.
Yeah. And they're very... they're beefy. They take a lot of damage, too. And then they had regular ships as well, which were a lot smaller than the battleships, and those weren't as strong, but they also shot really quickly. Then you were always being chased by little piddly airplanes as well that were constantly behind you. And then, I don't know, I did like the... diversity in the types of enemies that you encountered. I felt like it was like it's like Tetris, where it's like Tetris is like the perfect amount of blocks to make the game interesting. If they had one less or one more, it would be what it is. And I feel like this game is the same way, where I feel like they had the right amount of enemy, like and they showed up at the right amount of intervals. So it wasn't like you were just, now I'm only fighting battleships, or now I'm only fighting ace pilots. There was a good mix at all times. I think there was a really good balance there.
And this goes more into like the art style of the game. But one of the things I appreciated is, even though this game is very minimalist, or at least the gameplay part of it, it's... you can distinguish between enemies and their projectiles, because the enemies are like a solid silhouette, whereas projectiles are usually like an outline or maybe a lighter color.
And that's due to the game being in sepia tone. Mm-hmm. The whole aesthetic of the game. So your ship is like that dark, kind of maroonish color. A lot of the enemies are that same color. Then the background is kind of like a more like flat out, or flushed out, like a kind of khaki color. And then effects and everything is a lighter maroon and a lighter, almost like super bright white. They have as you're doing things in this game, there's missions that you can do to like kind of help you get more gear and things like that. And they also help you unlock different I don't know what it was, like color modes, color options. Similarly
really?
to Downwell and kind of similarly to not that you unlocked them in Oberdin, but like Oberdin, you could like cycle through like 7 or different color schemes. You get that in this game too. Let me tell you, they are all effing garbage in this game. Like, I don't even think it was because I played this game mostly in the default one. I think I've unlocked like 7 different colors. Only one of them I felt like was like I could play in this one. It was like a black, white, and gray, kind of like a grayscale color mode. But they had some like high contrast ones, and like the things that you would expect, where there's like a blue and an orange one. There's a kind of like a greenish one. There's a lot of like background aesthetics, like clouds and ships in the background that aren't part of the environment, but it's just there to create like a depth that, for whatever reason, they just didn't hit that balance with those other color modes. So it was very like hard to tell what was going on in a lot of those other color modes. And I think I unlocked like 7 or so color modes, and there was probably more for me to unlock. And I played every single one of them at least a couple times, and most of them were like god awful. Like some of them were like so bad where I switched to that color mode, and I was just in the menu and I was like, nah, I'm not even gonna do this one. No, I'm good. Yeah, like it was very like I've never had that experience. Like I've been playing Downwell a bunch over quarantine, time, and even Oberdin. I remember us playing, and I've never had like it was like, oh, this one colorway or these 2 colorways I don't like, but these other ones are cool. I've never played a game where it was like most of these are trash.
I was looking up the color schemes that you can choose from, and I actually came across this other game that's everybody's comparing it to, or some people are comparing it to Luftrausers, but it's in color.
Jetlancer?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not... I was hoping as you progress through the game, the colors would change to kind of like let you know. I'm trying to think of like some older games that did that. I know like games like Galaga and other arcade games did that as you progressed through each level, whereas this one doesn't. It just kind of stays in that same sepia tone color scheme, unless you change it like you said. But yeah, that's a little disappointing, but it I guess it's more of an option rather than something to help enhance the...
Yeah, if anything, it's an accessibility thing. Like, I don't know if people with color blindness have issues with sepia tone. That's not something I'm aware of. But in case there is somebody that has issues with that, then they can change it to something else that's more fitting for their needs. I just know that the sepia tone was like... I think it was pretty good, and a lot of the other color modes that I saw were like, ugh, like they were not doing it. They were not doing it for me. Yeah, and I was trying to think if there was anything else. Oh yeah, I guess missions. So I briefly touched on the upgrade stuff, but you basically had 3 parts to your ship, and I had alluded to this earlier how it affected the music, but it also affected how you play too. So your main, you had your gun, you had the body of your ship, and you had the engine of your ship, and those were the 3 parts that you could set to kind of adjust your playthrough. So like the starter one that you start off with is just like the average, like you have an average machine gun, you have like a average strength ship body, and you have average strength acceleration. One of the things about the engine too was it affected how well your ship could turn as well. So not only how quickly and how fast it could go accelerate, but also how quickly it could turn. And then like as you're doing missions in the game, missions something like kill 30 airplanes or kill 2 battleships in a single combo, or take out 30 airplanes in a max combo or something like that. Like you start to get like points, and the points are basically tied to the level of your ship, and once you hit certain levels you start unlocking more things. Do you guys know off top what level you guys got up to?
8.
8. I was level 9.
I just unlocked 6.
Okay. And like it's not like super like a big deal, but like it just kind of adds like makes some variability in your runs. I found that default machine gun, I couldn't aim that to save my life. I was bad with that, and I'm assuming you were too, Trevor.
Yeah.
How was it on? Like what was it about it?
Because you're not flying straight, so. Mm-hmm. When you fly, you position yourself in the direction that you want to move. Whereas with this game, you're drifting, and rather than pointing at something and saying shoot, you're drifting and allowing momentum to move you and trying to shoot while, I guess, calculating, okay, my momentum is going to pull me this way. So rather than me pointing straight at the target, I need to point a little bit ahead of the target. That way, while I'm drifting, my bullets will, end up hitting the target rather than, hitting behind it. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where the skill part comes from.
You almost have to lead your shots.
Yeah.
Instead of shooting like where your opponent is, you're going to just shoot where you think they're going to go. And I felt that a lot too, especially with the bigger ships, the targets, the battleships, and the fighter planes. Like those, you had to aim like, and on top of that too, you had to like lead them. And on top of that too, they were super. They had a lot of health.
Yeah. So
it was constantly like you're like drifting, doing a couple shots there, trying to dodge the gunfire that's being shot your way, and also trying to make sure your ship doesn't hit the water and you're not taking that damage. So you're like, I need to get my life back, but I also need to position my ship this way, and I also need to dodge this thing, and I'm also, like all these different things that you're trying to account for. And it was just a lot harder to also not reliably be able to hit enemies with the machine gun. Did you have that issue with the machine gun, Dante, on the controller, or was it pretty straightforward?
I didn't like how any weapon controlled, to be perfectly honest. So, like, the beam was the one that was, I guess,
your preferred,
the least bad for me. So that's what I went with.
So yeah, some of the other weapons that you could later unlock was like a laser, which I think was everybody's like probably preferred.
I didn't care for it.
Oh, okay. Well, I think the laser was like the when I unlocked when I got good at this game was when I had the laser, and I was like, oh, I can reliably kill people now, and I can reliably boost my combos and keep a streak going, and I can reliably get points now. And then they also had the spread shot, which was I guess yours, Trevor.
Yeah.
The spread shot, like kind of like classic Contra, where you're shooting like I think it was 4 in a cone shots. They also had almost like a shotgun. I feel like, it was strong, but it was also kind of had like a delay to it. There was also
it had a slower rate of fire.
Mm-hmm. There was heat-seeking missiles that you could only shoot 4 at a time, which I feel like was the worst weapons in the game because they didn't do what you wanted them to do at all.
Yeah, it took me a little bit to figure that out, and part of that is the skill of just being able to control your ship, but you have to actually point at what you want to shoot in order for the missiles to aim in that direction.
Yes, and like once I realized that, because like what I was trying to do was I'm just gonna fly forward and
exactly
and drop some missiles and it's gonna just tear up the people that are chasing me. But like no, that was never the case. And when I realized that you had to like that weapon was the most reliant on you being able to be like a good dog fighter and being able to properly position your plane. And when I realized that, I was like, I guess I'm never using this weapon. Did you have those ones unlocked, Dante?
Trying to think. You're talking about the just missiles that would drop?
Yeah.
No, there was.
They look like they drop, but it's based on like where you're aiming.
Yeah, what you're facing.
Oh yeah, I think I got those. They were okay, but
Yeah, I was wondering if it was a little bit easier for you since you may have had a different time controlling your ship than us.
It's really hard for me to say at this point. Like,
Gotcha.
I tried everything once at least that I unlocked, but everything kept saying go back to this laser.
Yeah, yeah. And then I think the thing that I was trying to get better with was the cannonball, which was another weapon that had a slow rate of fire, but it shot this huge blob in front of you, and when it hit something, it would explode, and so like it would explode and do like shrapnel damage, and like those were really really good for like any of the ships in the sky, because like you would immediately just have like a burst of damage that other ships are flying into, and like so it was really easy for me to get a max combo using that. It was a little bit harder though with the slower rate of fire when I was like dealing with, because you had to lead your shot with it, and dealing with battleships, because it took like 4 or 5 cannonballs to take out a battleship. And the same thing, once it exploded, it did a huge explosion that like did a bunch of shrapnel damage. But it was just like that one was like my foray into trying to learn how to position my ship a little bit better and getting more used to the controls. Because I didn't feel like I needed that for the laser. I felt like with the laser, I could just like hold the space bar down and just turn my ship, and I was just doing a ton of damage. Where I felt with the cannonball, I had to be a little bit more precise because my rate of fire was so slow. But it also like allowed me to. The issue I started having with the laser when I got further on was that I was never healing myself because I was always firing. And then with the cannonball, like you had to like. It had a slower rate of fire, so like it forced me to kind of like focus on controlling my ship a little bit more than the laser did.
And the dangerous thing about the cannon too is that your healing rate slows down as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it doesn't start healing you until after your shot lands. I may be mistaken, but that's the way it felt. Either it heals you slower, or it waits until your shot lands before it starts healing. But yeah,
I know there's a body where you can't remember if you heal less or heal slower, or it just doesn't have as much HP.
I think, yeah, there's one that heals slower. That's the armor.
Yeah. Okay.
The and that's partly the reason why I went with the spread, like the majority of the game. But once I did unlock the cannon, I was using that just because it does so much, not necessarily area of effect, but it just does a broad range of damage. And I was trying to get my score up by getting my combo to max. I don't know if we just talked about that.
No, we can talk about the combo.
So just to kind of
well, can we just cover the body and the engine real quick? So so that was really it for the weapons. The bodies, they were a little bit they controlled your damage basically. So like you had the default one, which was light, but it was kind of sturdy. Then the next one you got was like an armored one, so you were almost more like a turtle and you could take more damage. There was one that was it turned your ship into like a ramming tool, so like you could fly through other enemies without taking any damage. There was one that allowed you to fly underwater and not take any damage, which was probably my favorite body. And then there was one that was like a hover, so you could go up in the clouds, I think, and not take as much damage, but you didn't accelerate, or you kind of or let me rephrase that. If you boosted up in this game normally, and then if you just went straight up and let go, you would drop down at a normal rate. But this one, it kind of like you floated down, or you like hovered down. So it was like it slowed your descent. And then they also had a ship that whenever you were boosting, it was shooting bullets behind you, the Gungeon. Or so like if you're moving forward facing to the right and shooting to the right, a gun is shooting behind you. And then there was another one that when you were boosting, it was dropping missiles just straight down. And then there was for the engine, Oh, actually, some of those were engine ones, actually.
Yeah.
And then there was another body that when you died, it created an explosion, like a nuke went off, and it killed basically everything on screen. And then what are some of the other engine ones? I think I covered them all.
You on bodies or engines?
Both.
Oh, okay.
I have them mixed up. So
I've got a list here. It's on the Steam community.
Okay.
Let me see. So there's the default one, the armor one, which is the one I used.
You couldn't turn as quickly with that one, right?
Right. You had 75% more HP, but you move 20% slower.
Mm-hmm.
The melee one, which you mentioned, which does more damage when you ram stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The nuke, and there was the bomb. I don't think I unlocked that one. But it
I didn't have that one either.
It heals slower, and I guess you do more damage when you ram into stuff.
I guess I never had this one, so.
But yeah, those are all the bodies.
And then, okay, so the engine, you had the original engine, you had the super boost, which basically made you accelerate a lot faster. They had the gungeon one, which I was saying is that you can the benefit of the gungeon is that you can maintain a combo while you're healing because you're being propelled by bullets. The hover one, which is the one I was talking about, where you won't need to boost as much. The waterproof one, which was probably my favorite one.
Mine too.
And yeah, and then they also had like a random thing too, where you could randomize and just like let the game choose which engine or which guns you got or which body. And then they also had an option where you could just random everything, and I did that a couple times too. But yeah, did you have a favorite? What was your favorite loadout, Dante?
Well, obviously the laser. I had the armor body, I'd like to say.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can't even remember what the last part was. I might have just used the default.
The default engine?
Yeah.
And what about you, Trevor?
Spread, armor, and underwater.
Okay, I did cannon, underwater, and usually for my body, I either did the torpedo one, so then not the torpedo, the one where you could ram people, or I did the nuke one, where when you exploded there was a big nuke. Those were like my most successful loadouts.
And I was even looking on here, like, the nuke's only purpose was to complete missions.
Yep. Yep. It doesn't add to your score,
right.
But it just makes it easy, like you said, to help you complete
right,
missions.
You got to kill a blimp. There it is. Use
like for me, like my gameplay was basically I like to like stay closer to the water with the water one, and just using the one where you could fly through people and not take any damage. So I would just fly through boats and try to kill them. And then I also had the cannonball, so I would just kind of try to skim the water a little bit, just bouncing off of it, so it's a little bit easier. I only have to focus on shooting straight versus leading the shot. Mm-hmm. That was my strategy.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I didn't know the water or the clouds did damage until you guys said it.
Really?
You stayed in the skies?
No, I mean, I went in water a decent amount. I just assumed, like, when I took damage, it was normal because I made contact with a ship down there or something.
And I don't think it lets you. It may. I can't remember it allowing you to commit suicide by going into the water, because as soon as you like try to dive, it pulls you back up.
Yeah, it forces you out. Yep. And you were about to say something about the combo system, Trevor. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, it's no problem. So that was the reason why I chose spread and cannon, like for my what do you call it? The weapons, yeah. Mm-hmm. Because you have a combo system in this game where I think it goes up to 20.
20, I think so. 20 or 25.
And for every enemy that you kill, it multiplies your score by that amount up to max. And for a lot of the missions, your objective was to kill like a certain enemy at max combo. But it also multiplied your score, so that if you are going for a high score, that's pretty much your biggest your goal. Your biggest goal right there is to try to get a high combo as you can and keep it for as long as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And with spread and cannon, because it just does so much collateral damage, it's a lot easier to hit multiple enemies and get your combo as high as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that was my strategy, was doing that. It was. Did you guys try to play to keep? Was your guys' play style to try to keep stay alive for as long as possible, or was your play style to try to keep a combo going?
Stay alive.
I was mostly going for the mission objectives.
So whatever you had set.
Yeah, so I would try to get my loadout to, to fit like whatever I needed to do in order to reach the mission objective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was my. That was me too.
And the way the enemies work too is it seems like it's random. I know, like once you start the level, it gives you like a title. I don't know if that's like where you are in the story. Do y'all know?
I was on whatever happened after you kill a blimp.
Because I remember one that kept popping up that I was on for a while called the Jelly. But I guess y'all didn't notice
honestly, like the story stuff was kind of silly, and I just really wasn't paying attention to it because I didn't know what was going on.
It only showed up like once you started your run.
Yeah.
I forgot where I was going with that. But yeah, my main objective was to just kind of complete missions.
Mm-hmm.
But what was your question again? Maybe that's what I was trying to answer.
Oh, it's just like, were you playing to stay alive as long as possible, or were you playing to have as big of a combo as possible? I'm kind of with you. I was playing to just do missions because I knew I was like bad at this game. So like I got to the point where a lot of my missions were you can't move any further until you kill a blimp.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's when I started experimenting with other stuff, and I started playing and like kind of leveling up that way. And then did you end up unlocking the SF? I think it's SFMT.
I think all of us had to, because all of us killed a blimp at some point, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what that. I was trying to see what it actually means. But there's like a game mode. Oh, it's super effing masochist time, I think. There's a lot of people's like spawn fly misery tears.
But yeah, that's where I was going earlier. So yeah, with the titles, I don't know if that represents like where you are in the story, but sometimes because the spawns are so random, it's hard to tell like, okay, this game wants me to take down a blimp, but I'm not getting a blimp until I hit 10,000. My score hits 10,000. And then I got to that one point where I was trying to kill a blimp for the longest, and this was before I read that the nuke is pretty much your only way of killing it at the like early on in the game. But after seeing the text like for the blimp pop up so many times, there was one run that I did where rather than seeing that text, which is something like it's covering the radar, the text popped up and said, "Hey, heads up, something's coming your way." And the next thing I know, these two like alien spaceships come out of nowhere and just start shooting these continuous beams at me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, okay, I'm good. They're probably like the aces. Once they stop firing, I can, get away from them, regain my health, and then try to kill them. They never stopped firing. It was really like they had lasers just like yours.
That's the one thing I do appreciate is it does seem like you weren't fighting things that were foreign to you. Like everything that the enemies used for the most part was like some type of fire or weapon that you could use. And never was like, wow, I wish I could get this thing. It was like, no, you probably do have access to this thing. You just don't use it,
I'm guessing it's called a laser ace.
I never saw it. I never experienced it. Do we have anything else?
I do want to share a small anecdote.
Yes.
I have never had such a strong, like, distaste just out of the box feeling as I did, as like far as like my first run goes.
Mm-hmm.
Like launching off of that ship
Mm-hmm.
and moving around a little bit. I immediately got mad at you. I just want you to know that. Like, I immediately was like, he did it again.
Got him.
So, he got me again. I don't know how. Fortunately, over time, that feeling alleviated for the most part. I think this game is pretty. It's okay. It is like a 3 out of 5 for me.
Gotcha.
But just out of the box, I have never been that upset over. I'm like, what are they even trying to do with these controls?
If I'm gonna be honest with you, me and you talked about this beforehand, but normally for me, like, I just look at screenshots of games, and it had been so long since I had seen this game. It was just mostly like when I talked about Luftrausers, I was like, I don't even think I had looked at a screenshot of this game since like 2015. And like it just was like ingrained in my mind, but I thought this was going to be more like a level based game and have like a proper ending, you know, and so when I booted up the game and it gave me the controls, I was like, oh sure, whatever, like I'll figure it out. And then, like you said, you launch off the ship that first time, and I was like, wait, this is the game? And I was just like, holy crap, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And it took me a little bit to get used to it, because I also was like, I don't know if I like this either. But then I think for me, once I started doing missions and things and unlocking more things and kind of being able to get my play styles when I liked it. But I definitely felt the same way you did. I can't think of a game where
that first 30 seconds, probably the first time you played the game.
I literally the first thing I wrote down was WTF and question mark. I was like, wait, what? Like, I was like, what is it? Why did I die so quickly? Like, yeah. So like I'm with you. Like I don't think I played a game where I was like initially like, it's not the same, but I remember like after the first cutscene of Evil Within, I was like, I'm not playing this game. But it was for like a completely different reason. And I mean, even like the first 30 minutes of Dante's Inferno when we played, like I was just like, this game is going to be lame or whatever. But like the first 30 seconds of this game, I was like, what is this? Ooh, I don't think I like this. So I'm with you, Dante. I'm with you. I'm glad you stuck with it.
So that enemy I encountered is a laser ace, or the two of them spawn, but it says they have around a 1% chance of spawning rather than a regular
I've seen
ace.
those. I looked them up and I saw them too, but I don't remember seeing the. I guess I just never paid attention to the warning.
Oh, I did, because I was looking for the blimp.
Yeah, so like I definitely saw those before, and those things are a pain, yeah, for sure. Trying to think. Yeah. Do you got anything else for the game then, Trevor?
I think I would have enjoyed this game more playing it on, like, I know I'm going to catch flack from Dante for this, but I think I would have enjoyed it more playing it on my phone, maybe in like 2010.
I thought you were going to say Switch.
Oh, no. Like,
oh my god, I'm just trying to think of the Switch's D-pad trying to...
Yeah, no.
Oh, the other thing you wanted to talk about, Dante, was the menu controls.
What do you want to know about them not working?
They were bad.
They were real bad, for no reason. They could have just done a normal thing, try to be like a normal game, but no, everything in this game has to be extra. Just could have used like A and B or like 2 keys or whatever on keyboard and mouse, but instead they decided, oh, what if we make it like pseudo contextual to what you're doing? So up is to launch out of the bay if you're like at the launch menu, but if you're in the armory, it's different. And
See, that part, the up part kind of makes sense because you're pressing up in order to boost, and then it's kind of cool when you press up and you shoot off of the launch pad on the battleship. But everything else, I don't really understand.
There shouldn't have been like a separate tab to pull up your stats. It should have just been like you going to an option or like the menu screen, because like that was another thing. I didn't know how to exit out of this game.
yeah, I will say the problem with like up is in another menu, up is just like a menu up, and then you happen to hit left when you're on the main thing, and then all of a sudden you hit up because you're trying to get to the next option, and it's like, nope, you're in the game.
Yeah, I had that happen many times where I was like at the upgrade or like at the just kind of toggling through the different add-ons to my ship, and I hit the wrong button, and there I am at the battleship now, and it's like, wait, what?
Yeah, and on controller, none of that stuff is better, I promise you.
So is it really better? Yeah. So I think that's a good spot. You said 3 out of 5, Dante. So great game, great experience.
Okay game and experience.
Okay. Is there anything that you felt like? I mean, besides the mission, is there like anything that you could have felt like would have improved your enjoyment of this game?
Yeah, I think fundamentally it should feel a lot more fun to control, and maybe like if I put, Grant, I will go full disclosure and say I played an hour of this game, but
that was enough. You felt like you had seen enough of the game, and there wasn't going to be any fundamental difference if you had played another hour.
I unlocked that SMFTF mode or whatever it's called, and then I realized, oh, I'm not getting any further than this.
Did you play that, Trevor?
No, I didn't even try it.
Okay, let me tell you.
You might. Oh man, we might. Why don't you boot that up just for a live reaction?
Yeah, like how you feel when you're fighting a blimp, and there's just like, I just want to deal with this blimp, but all these other things are attacking me. That's where you start when you get off the ship. It's like the aces are there, the blimp is there. There's already battleships in the water. There's submarines in the water, and it's like they want all the smoke from the jump.
Like how games try to make you feel cool, and like the climax of this game is taking out the blimp. At least for us, that first time. The fact that they give you this mode in 5 seconds after you take out the blimp for the first time, you're like, oh my god, I actually understand this. I know what I'm doing. They throw you in that thing, and like, if it wasn't for this podcast, I would have instantly hit uninstall.
It was like, because like I got to the point, I don't know if you did, Trevor, with your missions, but some of my missions were like, oh, well, you have to play this in SFMT mode in order to see this mission. So I went to, and I was like, oh, I just have to kill 20 planes in a single play? No problem. And then I booted it up, and I played like twice, and I was like, 3 planes, 2 planes, and then I was like, you know what? I ain't ready. It's just like, I think I had mentioned this in the last podcast with Greg. Dante, you may have heard on the Giant Bombcast when they were talking about the ramp up in Geometry Wars, and like that achievement to get, I think, like 1,000,000 points in a single life, and like how it's like the first 2 minutes it takes 2 minutes to get 100,000, and the ramp up is so slow and it's so easy, but it's just so boring. And like I feel like this is that same thing, but like they gave you here's the shortcut. Oh, you want to deal with what it's like to deal with a blimp and not have to get 10,000 points before you have a blimp? Here's SFMT mode. Enjoy.
Pretty much. Like, you start with blimp shooting at you in that mode.
Yeah, it's like you were talking about Trevor spawning, and it's just like, oh, well, here they are. Here they are.
So that, as far as like it not being fun to control, in my opinion, that's one thing they could fix. And then the other thing, this game feels like it feels like there should be a secondary weapon, and for whatever reason there's not. Like, like your Galaga bomb, or...
That's what I was going to say, like some type of bomb to clear the screen, to kind of give you like a brief moment to maybe even something that is like, okay, if I use this bomb, then I have to sacrifice my combo meter or something like that. I feel like yeah.
That's kind of how Pac-Man Championship did it. Right?
I know, and it doesn't feel like there's an incentive. Like I don't know if it's. This is me saying this as somebody that's not good at this game, but it's like it feels like it's really hard for me to both play this game to survive and have a combo going. So I'm only good enough to do one of these things. I can't do them at the same time, and there should be like more of a like. Congratulations, you are playing this game this way in order to do this thing, and here's this thing to help you out with that, you know? What about you, Trevor? Great game, great experience?
It's fine.
It's fine?
No, it's... Like I said, I would have played... This would have been one of those games I played on my iPhone back in 2010.
I don't know how.
Well, I mean, just like the style of like the dogfight type game.
Gotcha.
Not necessarily the controls, but it's just like something very simple.
Yeah, it kind of shocked me. I'm not gonna lie, and I hope nobody takes this the wrong way. But when you said it took 2 years to make, it just—I don't know, that number shocked me because it seemed like I know I couldn't do it faster, but it didn't seem like a 2-year type of project.
Gotcha. Did either of you guys end up messing with Luftrausers?
That was the Flash game, right?
That Flash game I sent you guys a link to?
No, I couldn't access it.
I played it. I played maybe like 2 rounds of it, and it was very similar. You started off. I don't think there was any type of upgrade because obviously the Flash game. So like the only weapon you had was the machine gun, and you had like just the basic armor and basic gun or engine and everything. There was no combo system in that game, so that was something that they added later. I didn't get super far, but there was at least the water was there, and you took damage from the water. I feel like there was a little bit different how they displayed the health, and I really only saw planes and boats. I didn't see battleships or whatever, but I didn't play it too long enough to like mess around with it. But the music was still in it, had the same aesthetic. The music was pretty similar vibe as well. So like I'm wondering if that 2 years includes the time it took for them to make that first game. Because I'm with you, Dante, where I'm like, if you guys already had this blueprint that you were going off of and like kind of basically making a sequel of this game, like I don't know, like the only thing you guys really had to show for it was like adding a combo system and missions and like kind of the things you would expect in a video game almost.
Yeah, I'm not trying to discredit by any means, but it's just like when I think about, and this is me being armchair game designer or whatever, it's like, okay, you got a couple different types of ships, you got really one type of attack from almost all of them, like one universal type, and you got your ship that can be customized and stuff. But mechanics-wise, it's very, very simple. So I'm like, well, it really like after they get that whole movement pattern and game flow thing down,
I think so. I'm kind of with you guys. This game it's fine and it's a fine experience. I think the beauty in this game. And I think this is for the type of people like me that like to play games and get good at that game and kind of grind out that game. And this is just not one of those games for me. Is that there is like, I feel like this game has to be super rewarding if this game hits you, because the payoff of like being able to like play this game for like 10 minutes straight where you're like really adept at the combat and being able to bob and weave in and out of like these high stakes situation with all these planes shooting at you, and like I'm playing other games and I'm recognizing aspects that are like, I get this feeling like it's stupid, but like when I'm playing Tetris 99 and I'm at the very top of my board and like 3 people are attacking me at the same time and I somehow manage to turn the tables and like I clear out my board and I'm back at the bottom, even though I had 3 people attacking me, it was like I had to really focus and pay attention to what I was doing or I was gonna die. and I get that same feeling when I'm playing this game. I'm just not good enough to like do that consistently in this game. And I feel like that this game would be really cool to watch somebody that was really good at it streaming, because it would be really cool to see the kind of situations and just see somebody that is really good at maneuvering the aircraft to be able to like do all these things in a dogfight. And so I feel like this game would be really entertaining to watch somebody good at this game. It's just not going to be me.
You know, when I first played this game and I realized, like, when I got to level 2 or whatever, this is kind of a deep cut, but I was like, oh, this is going to be a Sonic and the Secret Rings type of situation, where that game is very infamous for, like, it was a Wii game, you're controlling Sonic, but he controls, like, utter garbage just out of the gate, and you eventually, like, unlock things. So it's like, oh, his movement speed isn't just a jog, and oh, you can actually make these turns, it's possible. I'm like, okay, they're just going to force me to unlock good controls, and that just never came. So I was like, okay, they're doing stuff with the ship, and I can see, like, maybe at level 2 or level 3, like, my turning's going to get really nice, and I'm going to be able to get, like, something on the left trigger that controls, like, the acceleration and deceleration.
Mm-hmm. And it just never happened.
The miracle never came.
Yeah. I think this game is like, I think it's supposed to invoke some type of feeling in you, and that is supposed to spur you on to wanting to continue to play this game and get good at it. And I just don't think that happened for us. I'm with you that I don't think the controls are great, and I feel like there's something missing, but I do recognize that, like, I mean, there are people out there that play this game, and like it scratched those itches of like that super high intensive moments in gameplay that were super rewarding, and they stuck with it, you know?
Like, everything in this game goes back to, they made a choice.
Exactly. And it's just like, I didn't really care for the choice that they made, so I knew the game wasn't for me.
Yep.
Well, I didn't really have any questions. It's just like, what's your guys' favorite loadout, or was there anything? I asked Dante. Trevor, was there anything for you that you wish that they had done differently with the game?
I think I mentioned it earlier, but just like different color palettes as you progress through the game, kind of like those old arcade games.
Mm-hmm. They did, though.
Well, not as you progress, but they gave you options.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Be careful what you wish for.
And like you said, they weren't very good. I'll take your advice. I
mean, you can try it. It wasn't. They weren't impressive to me. Like I said, I had never played a game where I was like disappointed in almost every single one of those. Usually, it's like the opposite, where it's like, oh, here's 10 different color options, and 7 of these I can play with, and these other 3 I'm just not going to avoid. And for this one, it was like, I only like 2 of these, and one of these is the default one. And obviously, I hadn't unlocked all of them, but I had unlocked enough of them that I was just like, I don't know about these. I think for me, I would enjoy playing this game as a dual joystick shooter. I don't necessarily know if that would have made the game. I think it would have been like the other games then. So like, I recognize that that's probably not. That wouldn't be what they're aiming for, and it's no different than like a Geometry Wars or Smash TV or whatever. But I think that having that, at least that fidelity and controls and everything, I would have liked to play the game with a little bit more control, and so that's what I would have hoped for. But I did like the missions. I enjoyed those. I enjoyed the diversity and weapon loadouts, or just ship loadouts, I should say. So I enjoyed some of that stuff. So yeah. Where can people find you at, Trevor?
You can find me on the internet at Lyric Unsung.
Where can people find you at, Dante?
Right now they can't really. I've been pondering the idea of starting to stream again, but see.
Anything specific that like is like?
I might
standing
have
out
a
to you?
game.
What's that?
I might have a game. What was the question though? Sorry.
I was saying, is there anything in specific that's like spurring you to want to start streaming again? Like a game that you're like, oh, I think this would be fun to play online, or
Well, I did pick up the PS5, so Demon Souls. I always like playing the Souls games, so that would probably be a shoo-in. But I'm also just now thinking that maybe I stream Yakuza 2 because those games are a lot of fun. I think that'd be kind of interesting.
have you
So
played
one of those two games.
that other one, the Like a Dragon?
I want to get to that one, but I'm kind of worried about story spoilers since that one's literally like Yakuza 7.
Oh, gotcha.
So I've played 0 and 1 so far.
So you want to try to get to there before you?
Yeah, more or less.
Gotcha. Are you streaming anything, Trevor? Have you been streaming anything lately?
No, not lately.
Gotcha.
I've really just been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, so I don't think it's really worth streaming.
Dang.
Well, it just doesn't, I don't know, strike me as like a streaming game.
Dang.
Impressions?
Say that again?
You think? I said, do you like it more than Odyssey and?
It takes
I
me
can't even
back
remember.
to Black Flag a lot
That's fair.
with the gameplay of Origins and Odyssey.
That's good, right?
Black Flag wasn't really my favorite. I know a lot of people, and this is way off topic, I know a lot of people praise it, but I prefer climbing buildings and free running and all that, whereas once you got past Assassin's Creed 3, aside from Unity and Syndicate, everything's just kind of been like open, and there's nothing really to climb from building to building on. But
That's fair.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Potato Salad. I'm not streaming anything ever, but I've been playing a lot of our next game, and I'm looking forward to that. And I think I mentioned to the guys, but I think we're going to try to have lists ready the week after Thanksgiving, so be on the lookout for that as well. Maybe we can see if we can get Dante to throw in some game submissions too. And 2 years, is it the 2-year comeback?
Don't call it a comeback.
So yeah, we'll do some more begging and see if we can get him back after this episode. But if you guys like tuning in to Mixed Checkpoints to find out about hidden gems, cult classics, and indie games, and share us with your friends, family, and not shitty subreddit communities you're in. Comment on our Facebook page, add us on Twitter, leave us a review, preferably 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, so we can appear higher in the leisure category. We enjoy doing these and love to hear from you guys. Like I've said in the past, I've gotten a couple different recommendations, or people's like, hey, you guys should check this thing out, or how come you guys haven't played? I think the one that I remember the most is like somebody's like, hey, so you guys played the first Phoenix Wright, do you guys plan on playing the second and third one? And I did play the second one. I did not enjoy it as much as the first one. But I hear good things about the third one, so I might check it out. But I don't know. Like, I think it might be. I remember how hard it was to get. Like, I don't think Trevor or Greg finished the last chapter, the 5th chapter.
Yeah, I mean,
the first one?
Granted,
Yeah, it was like super long.
Oh,
Make
yeah, I
another
finished
game
it.
in itself.
Well, like not before the podcast though, right?
I can't remember.
I thought you were halfway through it when we did the episode, and I think maybe you finished it afterwards. But
I think that was the case.
But I don't really want to put them through that, honestly.
Yeah, it was already kind of like a selfish call on my part. I was like, man, they have to play this game this 17 hours.
I'm gonna be honest. Like, one of the things that we've learned, or like we figured out, is like, initially we were saying we're gonna play games that are under 16 hours, and we're gonna do that every month. And like, I think we did a good job of it. But I do know, even like now, with it being like, 2020, and with like COVID and everything, and people spending more time at home and everything, like it's still like sometimes I just want to play like a game that I know I like, and not necessarily like, I'm glad that Dante's Inferno was only like, it took me 7 hours to beat versus like 20-hour game or stuff like that. So sometimes I'm like, you know what, I'm cool with us playing like a shorter 6-hour game, and that gives me time to play games that I like to play as well on the side. So I like that we've kind of been opting to play shorter games. I say that having spent since October 50 hours into the breach, but you know what I mean.
Jeez. I can't say anything. I've done the same with certain games.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when you have a game you like, that's what you want to play, and so like being able to spend time playing a game you like and not having to worry about like, oh, I need to. Feeling guilty, like should I be playing this other game that I also have this commitment to and everything. Like sometimes it's nice to be like, okay, we're gonna play a super short like 5-hour game this month, and I can like get on with my life still too. So, well, yeah, we rambled a little bit. Luftrausers, it's all right. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, and I think this might be we might try to do one more bonus podcast, but we inadvertently hit 5 again this year. So I didn't have that goal going into this year, but things happen. So we were able to do it. So we might shoot for 6, but I wouldn't hold your breath. But I think, like I said, we have Into the Breach coming November, and then we have for our November episode, and our December episode is Katana Zero. So, go ahead.
Do you guys have a guess for that one out of curiosity?
We do not. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Yes, my brother is going to be on that one.
Okay, cool. Because I was about to say I am like 80% through that game, but I haven't beaten it.
What do you?
But that's good. You guys have somebody, so that's fine. Ooh.
Okay. Yeah.
I wasn't really looking forward to that thing. 20%.
Well, yeah, be on the lookout. I think we'll try to record our next episode next week, and then we'll have one more for the year, and hopefully try to have that 2021 list up, our next batch of games and our favorite games of this month or this year coming up too. So we got a couple things we got to do for the rest of the year, but be on the lookout for that. And yeah, with that, we are Missed Checkpoints, and we're out. Peace.